Hello, kind-hearted people of Earth and beyond. Welcome to the Kindness Rising podcast, the podcast that aims to inspire people to lead lives that flourish, grounded in kindness. My name is Brandon Blanks. I'm a writer and a stand-up comedian. I'm also the producer and co-host of this show. As always, the Kindness Rising podcast is brought to you by Kindness Rising. Kindness Rising is a community organization committed to inspiring, equipping, and resourcing people to lead lives that flourish, grounded in kindness, and aimed at making the world a better place. For more information, please visit our website at kindnessrising.community. There you can find out about our upcoming events, how to get involved. You can sign up for our newsletter, find out more information about this podcast, or even donate. Kindness Rising is supported solely by the generous contribution of our lovely donors. So if you would like to help support us, please go to kindnessrising.community/donate. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy this episode of the Kindness Rising podcast.
All right, we're going to get started. I want to welcome you on behalf of Moongoat Coffee. Let's give a shout out to Dave and the team, the baristas at Moongoat. Woo, woo, woo. And we'll talk about the sponsors and the people that are helping make this event happen a little later. But most importantly, I want to say to all of you, Happy International Kindness Day. How many of you even knew it was International Kindness Day, right?
Yeah.
It needs a new marketing director. Maybe Sam, you could help, right? We got to get International Kindness Day a better marketing team. But we knew it, and because we're part of an organization that's new to the community called Kindness Rising, we thought what better event or what better day than International Kindness Day to do this event. So let me tell you what we're going to do, and that is I have three friends that I've known different amounts of time that are doing really cool things in the community. And what I wanted to do for Moongoat and for everybody here, number one, thanks for coming out. And if you came out to study or do something else and we caught you off guard and you're sticking around to listen, thank you. It means the world. And just maybe it's a coincidence that you meet somebody or hear something that was meant for you to hear or somebody that was meant for you to meet. And if so, yay for all of us for showing up and being present to possibilities, right? So let me have each one of these people is going to tell you their name and the organization that they're here to talk about. And in a sentence or two, tell us the purpose of that organization, okay? Your name of the organization, and its purpose. All right, go for it, Yoli.
No, here. We got it. You can get it.
Okay. I think it's working now. This one's working.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's right. We'll share. Sharing is caring. All right. So my name is Yoli, and the reason why Keith wanted me to introduce myself is because he was worried that he would butcher my last name, which is Origel.
See?
Origel. Yes. All right. So I'm here to represent an organization called Cancer Kinship. And we are a 4-year-old nonprofit organization. Our headquarters is right up the street, across the street from Hoag Hospital. And the primary purpose why we exist is to provide critical resources and emotional support, not just to the newly diagnosed, but for the growing cancer survivor community. Because sometimes when cancer patients are done with treatment, they're kind of like forgotten. And cancer, as many of you know, affects the whole person. It affects the family, your finances, just a lot of things. And so I want to make sure that our organization is here to connect you with much needed resources so you can thrive after a diagnosis.
Woo! Right?
Yeah.
All right. Brandon.
My name is Brandon Blanks. I am part of Kindness Rising, which I'm involved in a lot of things, but specifically tonight I'm going to be talking about the open mic that we do here at Moongoat. So the purpose of that is just to be an open microphone for anybody and everybody who wants to have a safe space where they can be wherever they're at. You know, open mics are not performances where people expect necessarily people to be super polished. I'm a stand-up comedian. I started doing stand-up here, and I was pretty bad in the beginning, but people were really nice, and it takes a lot of being bad in front of people sometimes to get the comfortability of doing your art form. And so we like to provide a nice, safe environment. A lot of times open mics are at bars and things like that. So if you're, say, in high school or maybe someone who doesn't drink, we would like to provide a nice Friday night service. So we've been doing it since last summer. It's pretty awesome. I started hosting it about 6 months ago. I used to just do stand-up at it. Now we do, it's a great little thing. So if you haven't seen it, or if you're a performer or a poet, or as I joke, if you want to just tell us what's scrolling through your Instagram feed into a microphone for 8 minutes, we'll listen to you. So yeah, the point is just to provide an art platform for the community. So yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for bearing with my two crazy kids. I appreciate it. My name is Reina Cuthill, and I work for a local organization called Love Costa Mesa / Trellis. Some of you guys know us as Trellis. And the purpose of our organization is we bring collaboration around the city's greatest challenges. And we have 4 initiatives: prayer, education, neighboring, and homelessness. So I get the privilege to be in charge of our neighboring initiative.
That might work. So if you want to give her that. There you go. Does it work? Okay. Still no. Man, bummer. Never mind. I thought it was working.
All right. Hey, also at any point, if you've not yet gotten a free coffee, there are about 4 or 5 different free coffee drinks that Moongoat is serving. That's on Moongoat. That's part of their generosity. So thanks in advance for them. Also, if you leave before the panel's over, we also have some Kindness Rising t-shirts that are being printed outside. We would love for you to have a KiRi t-shirt. We also have tote bags, and that's just an opportunity for us to just give some love back. We also had Lindsay from the cookie branch make 30 amazing gourmet cookies. If you didn't get one, sorry, they were delicious. And there'll be more that you can find probably at holiday parties and things like that. The next question I want each of you to answer is, why this cause? Why is it important to you? What drew you to your organization?
Okay, so for me, it's actually kind of easy to answer. I'm a 15-year stage 3 breast cancer survivor. So I know firsthand the challenges that cancer patients and survivors have. But when I tell my story of cancer survivorship, I often share that my story started when I was a teeny tiny kid, because my mom was diagnosed in her 30s. She passed away at the age of 42 when I was 10. So my cancer story started with my mother, ended with my sister, also diagnosed. So yeah, it's been pretty much part of my family, and cancer has been a word that I've known since I was 6 years old. Yeah.
Brandon.
Why did I get involved? Yeah, I got involved just because, I'm a performer. So as someone who used to go to this open mic, I felt like when there was a new host, long story short, the guy that used to host it stopped doing it. Then a friend of mine was hosting it. Then he got a girlfriend and didn't want to be tied up on Friday nights. So now I host it. They're not together anymore, which is a bummer. I feel like I'm sorry. Yeah, so I took over. I didn't have anything to do with that. But yeah, I felt like, I was a part of it. It really is where I got my start, and so I just wanted to kind of provide that for other people. We're like one of the only clean comedy open mics, which is fun. So that we got a lot of. It's just something that's very, I didn't realize how much it meant to everyone until I started being the one in charge of the microphone. It means a lot to people, and so I just like upholding a space where some people, I think it's like their one moment, their whole week that they get to be who they are on stage for maybe 10 minutes. And so I think it's very important. And I also want to thank Moongoat for keeping this available, because I know it can be a lot to take over a place on a Friday night. There could be a quieter environment, but it's nice that they let us do that. So yeah, just
cool. And it's every Friday, 6 to 10.
Every Friday from 6 to 10, except next Friday. They got a nice holiday meeting for their staff. So we're going to I get a Friday off. So
hey,
any good movies coming out next Friday?
Yeah,
anybody?
You never know, man. Any ladies in the house looking for,
Or,
hipster Jesus?
Hipster Jesus? I'll take it. Jesus was pretty hip.
Right.
He's like, no, man, you got to check out the Old Testament. Those are the deep cuts. That's funny. Actually, that's funny. I did write a hipster Jesus joke today in the shower. So thanks for the setup, Keith.
I wasn't there. Okay, Reina, how did you get involved in it?
I was going to say, talking about hipster Jesus, I met my husband through volunteering at a place called the Check-in Center, and he looked like a hipster Jesus when we first met. So the version you saw just now is the married version of my husband. Anyways, I share that because my husband and I, we share a love for the community, and that is truly why I've gotten involved and why we're even married. There's nothing else we have in common except our love for the community. It's absolutely true if you ask him. And so I have a huge passion for the homeless. I've had that passion since I was 18, and I started volunteering at a place called the Check-in Center. It's a homeless storage facility, so I did it for about 8 years, and through that, actually, Trellis and Love Costa Mesa birthed out of these collaborative efforts. And so it's a huge passion of mine to see people strategically collaborate on issues instead of trying to do it on their own.
Love that. Love that. Right? Very, very cool.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, next question is, how do you guys live out your purpose? There's so many different ways you could do this purpose, but how do you live it out? What are some practical things you're doing to make Cancer Kinship happen?
Well, I wear many, many hats, and I actually quit my job, and this is my full-time gig. I love what I do, and like what you said, I can't do this work alone. It's impossible. So the only way that Cancer Kinship even exists and can continue doing the work is to engage the community. So looking for cancer survivors who want to volunteer, looking for community members who have a passion for this type of work. Cancer patients are dealing with homelessness, dealing with domestic violence, dealing with a lot of things. So we definitely could, if we had support from other types of individuals who had love for service, then I definitely want to talk to you. Can't do it alone.
Talk about some of your cool partnerships that have happened through like Hogue and St. Joseph's.
Sure. So this is how I knew that it was meant to be for me to be in this line of work and that this organization was meant to exist. The day that I was waiting for approval I put in an application for a Hogue Center right down the street. There's a place called the Melinda Hogue Smith Center for Healthy Living. And it's like a nonprofit hub that houses like 15 nonprofits all under one roof, different types of impact areas, and I was waiting to be approved for office space. On the same day that I launched the organization, not only did I get the yes for office, but I also got my first donation in the mail. So all three wonderful things happened at once. So that was like day one. So then from that, we met Keith, and right away we decided to have like an art show at Keith's place down across the street. So we collaborated with a company called Painting Your Heart, and that's a way for cancer survivors to get their emotions out and cope with cancer, right? So, but it's a non-traditional way to address the emotional impact of cancer through the arts. So we're always looking for fun ways. I am all about the fun. I say cancer's dark. We need to bring levity back into life after a diagnosis. So how do we do that? We're having a fashion show next Sunday. So looking for fun ways to engage the community. But again, we can't do it alone. So I definitely want to hear from you if you're interested in learning how you can support.
Awesome. Okay, Brandon. Same question, Brandon.
How do I live my purpose?
Yeah.
So like I said, the open mic is all about just providing a nice, safe space. So what I like to do is kind of make sure it's like a family. I'm the face of it, and so I like to kind of think of it as like my little party that people come to, and I always try and say hi to people and make sure if I haven't seen them before, make sure I ask them it's their first time and make people feel welcome and invite them back. And it's tough. The truth is like as it's related to kindness. Like I said, it means a lot to a lot of people. And so sometimes it doesn't go as well as they had hoped, or they're a little nervous. And so just helping people, just being a calm presence up there that's just there, it's okay. It's not, because it's pretty nerve-wracking, It's like, even someone like me who talks to people all the time, it can be kind of nervous, you know what I mean? It's like, everyone's staring at you. And if you're kind of bothering people, it can be kind of stressful, right? And so, like, we have a 9-year-old kid who does stand-up, and he's really cool, but sometimes he gets nervous. So I just like to be really encouraging to him. And, if people are having a bad night, I just try and understand that this is more important to them than I probably understand. And, it's... Because art is really special to people, and if they don't express their art, then they have to bury it, and that's really sad to have to bury a lot of times what people believe is like their true purpose in life. And so that's really nice that even if you get to be that person you are for like 10 minutes a week, I like to make sure that people get to do that if they can. So if that's something you guys are looking for, every Friday night from 6 to 10.
Tell them about Claire and why she comes.
Oh, Claire. So Claire is one of our other comedians. She's a 76-year-old gal, Irish Catholic, she always jokes. And she started doing stand-up a few years ago for grief and PTSD and some things. And she's super funny. She comes out here every week and does her jokes about millennials and makes fun of me. And it's good. And I make fun of her. And it's a lot of fun. She's a real sweetheart. Yeah, she's a former teacher. And we get a lot of fun folks. So,
her grief is her husband passed, and so here's this amazing widow that rather than sulking or pushing away or isolating, decided to lean in and try something she'd never tried before, comedy. And every Friday she's here doing her thing, and it's really a courageous, beautiful thing to watch.
No, so she's super funny.
I know, you got to come see Claire. And then Michael, to see a 9-year-old and then a 76-year-old.
We got quite a range of ages, yeah.
Okay, Reina, how does Love Costa Mesa do its purpose?
Wow, that's kind of a big question. I don't know if this is an interactive audience, but I always like to ask the question, how many of you actually know your next door neighbors? All right, actually, that's pretty good. Most of the time when I ask that question, most people do not know their next door neighbor. And the reason I bring that up is because my job is called Neighboring Initiative Director. And so when Keith asked this question about how do I live my purpose, when I got this job, so sad to say, I did not know my neighbors. It's really sad. So it actually forced me, because if I took this job, I need to be able to live what I preach. And so I started not only getting to know my neighbors, but I started being really awkward about it, really creepy about it. And when I say what I mean by that is a lot of times when you get to know your neighbors, you have to be that kind of creepy neighbor asking for your eggs or soy sauce or onion. They're basic things that, to be honest, that's how I've gotten to know my neighbors, and they become so close to me. When I need to run out for an errand, they'll come over and watch my kids. Or anyway, so that's really how I live my purpose. That's how I encourage other people to live their purpose. And I wanted to tie back into that widow story because I truly, truly believe when you get to know your neighbors, you can save a life, especially for a widow like Claire. If you got to know your neighbors, you will be surprised how many people are feeling lonely, feeling depressed. And so I encourage you after tonight, just get to know one of your neighbors, because you can make a difference and save a life.
Can you talk about that story where you tried to get 100 people to each meet 10 neighbors?
Yes. So I was very new at this job, and I'm not going to lie, I did not know what I was doing, but I have these ideas, and I'm like, okay, let's just see if this idea works. So somebody gave me this idea. We have a network called Intentional Neighboring Network, and they say, hey, what if people put a yard sign in front of their house or where they lived so it shows they are an intentional neighbor? So I'm Asian, and I like to go above and beyond. I'm a high achiever, so I'm like, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if we got 100 people to get to know 10 neighbors by name? Because obviously, as an Asian, we do not settle for A-minuses 90. We don't settle for 80. I always have to go for the 100. And so, to be honest, I did not think I can get 100 people to sign up. But what's crazy is we actually, in the span of last December, we got 100 people to sign up to take that pledge to get to know 10 neighbors by name. And the way that I incentivized them was they can turn those names back. I didn't do anything with them. They just need to turn those names back, and they got entered into a terrific drawing of 4 prizes donated by the community. And so there were incredible stories that came out of people taking that pledge to get to know their neighbors.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Isn't that great? All right. How about a recent, we've already kind of hit this, but again, a recent success story. A recent success story.
Okay. So obviously, if I'm working with cancer patients, I'm working with incredibly ill people. And then also very healthy people like me that have been around 15 years post-diagnosis. But the one story that really sticks out is a story of collaboration between Keith and I. There's a fairly young cancer warrior that I'm working with who is terminal. And too young to be terminal, in my opinion, but he is very aware of his end-of-life situation. And he asked for me to provide resources for end-of-life, help him plan his funeral. And I was like, holy moly, how am I going to help an individual plan his funeral right there, talking about death? And then I'm like, well, who do I know? Who can help me? And Keith is a death doula, is an officiant of celebration of lives. Like, he's the go-to when it comes to this topic. And so I called Keith. I'm like, Keith, I really need some advice on how to turn this conversation into something beautiful, right? This is something that we're all going to face. How do we turn this into a beautiful conversation? And you gave me the best tips on how to make this a heart-centered conversation where we talk about not so much like funeral stuff, like what casket and flowers and that. We did talk about that, made some very fast decisions. I'm very proud of him and how quickly we planned his funeral. But the most important and most beautiful part is when we talked about, who do you want to forgive? Who do you want to say I love you to? Who do you want to say I'm sorry to? And those ideas came from a conversation I had with you, Keith, that then translated into this conversation I had with my client. And then fast forward, my client needed hospice support, lost hospice support when he went to the ER, and was going to come home to no bed, no medication, no hospice support. And I called Keith. Keith works for Lucent Hospice. I said, Keith, we need hospice care tomorrow, like now. And we got it done in one day. We got hospice support. They brought in a bed. I mean, it was just incredible how we were able to work together to make this happen for this young person that came home and had a bed to sleep on that night. So thank you for the collaboration and for stepping in that role and helping me figure things out in real time. It was just beautiful to see, and to see my clients' needs met. And those are like sensitive, critical things, like almost basic stuff, right? That we all should have a right to feel cared for and loved, have a bed to sleep on. And we were able to do that through a collaboration. So thank you for that. Huge, huge for us. Yeah, and for him.
And the cool part then was once he came on Lucent Hospice, then I got to come back around and meet. I hadn't met him yet. Then I got to show up and knock at his door and be the chaplain. But here, this whole relationship had already been built through your love and you kind of paving the way also. And then he and I now have become friends. And it's really just this idea of what we do in community, right? That's how we care for each other. No one should walk this journey alone. Grief shouldn't be that way. Death shouldn't be that way. Aging shouldn't be that way. And when we really trust each other with each other's loved ones and care and support, amazing things can happen. So, yay.
It just came full circle, For now, I asked you for advice from my client. Now he's your client. So together, we're loving on this person. Like, we check on each other. We're like, how's he doing? Have you called him today? Have you called him today? So just to be able to work with you on this, with this client is just a beautiful thing. So.
And when we say young, we're saying early 30s.
Yeah.
Early 30s young. So, too short. Okay, so that's an amazing journey, success, beautiful thing. Brandon? We already talked about Claire.
Yeah, we got...
you want to tell maybe about the vets? Or you want to tell another story?
Yeah, well, honestly, the big success is just that it feels like there's regulars that come every week. It sort of feels like a family. It's not everybody, but I'd say there's 60% repeat, or just little things where people are like, oh, I didn't know there was an open mic, and I've never been to an open mic before. Or, oh, I've never performed before. And then people were just like, oh, my guitar's in my car. Maybe I'll just do that. Or one time some guy felt like he got gypped, and he was all kind of pissed off at me, and then I was like, this guy gets an extra song, and I was like, hey, there you go. And he never came back. No, I'm just kidding. He's nice sometimes. But like I said, the little kid who's 9 who does stand-up is really cool. Like, if I learned how to do stand-up when I was 9, I'm sure it'd be a lot funnier than I am now. So that's nice to see the kid gets his, honestly, me doing it every week, it's a success too, because it keeps you on something regular. You got to show up. Even if you're sick, even if you have COVID, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to let that stop me today, right? Sorry, just kidding.
And aren't there some other open mics, some comedy nights that have spun out, or that Michael didn't Michael go and get recorded? Or
Claire's been putting on some stuff. So for me, I don't know a ton of comedians, so that's been nice for me. We're not particularly social folks. I mean, I'm all right, but comedians are a little alone type of people, so it's been nice for me to meet other comedians and some musicians. Some people think I'm a musician, which is cool. I think that's like a cooler vibe. Must be the hair or something, but I don't know. But it just rubs off on me.
Love it. Reina, how about a success story? A cool story you want to share?
Yeah, I like to share this story a lot because it really, it kind of stabbed me in the heart a little bit. And I really value those moments when it stabs me in the heart. So I'm sharing this story. Hopefully it stabs you in the heart a little bit. So through my work, I get to meet a lot of really, really incredible community heroes. And one of these community heroes, they live at one of the mobile home neighborhoods. And they actually did a project for a neighbor on Love Costa Mesa Day. So if you don't know what Love Costa Mesa Day is, it's an annual citywide volunteer day where we do service projects throughout the city, and it could be literally anything. So this particular neighbor decided to love on her isolated neighbor who just had both his legs amputated. So he was feeling extremely discouraged, extremely depressed, extremely grumpy. But this woman, she is a very lively Hispanic woman that will basically if you say no to her, she's gonna get your no to a yes. So she got this man to turn his no to a yes. She got all her neighbors to come around to repaint the outside of his home. And through that, he felt loved and he felt supported. But the sad part of the story is 4 months later, he committed suicide. And so when I found this out, and we even shared the story of this particular individual, when I found this out, I asked her, hey, is there anything else like this happening in your neighborhood? And she shared with me that was the 5th suicide in her particular neighborhood in the last few years, and 4 of them were isolated seniors. And the reason I share this is because people need to know that this is happening. People need to know that there are so many lonely individuals that we can do something about. But because she was so motivated to do something about this situation, I asked her, hey, is there any other person that you would like to bless in your neighborhood? So she went and actually started knocking on doors, say, hey, we do something called Labors of Love, and we do a manual labor project for a neighbor in need, which is landscaping, painting, fixing the smallest things. We fixed a front door for a neighbor, built a ramp for a disabled neighbor. So I asked her, hey, if there's anybody that you would like us to bless, please let us know. So she knocked on this particular woman's door, and she was in her 70s. She's a retired teacher. And when she asked the question, hey, how can I bless you? She shared for 3 years, she's been praying for someone to knock on her door to ask her whether or not we can bless her with something. And she's been wanting for her home to be painted because she feels like her home is so run down compared to the others in her neighborhood. And so we were able to come around her, support her. We had a team out there painting her home. We found out she didn't have a working shower for the last 3 years as well. And so we were able to fix her shower, get her bathroom working again. So there's a lot of these types of stories that come out of the work we do. So that's just one of them.
That's a great story. Amazing, right? Okay, I want to get personal now. We all each have some type of true north, some kind of guiding light, guiding principle, something that we hold on to that helps us when we start to get sideways to rein us back in. Is there some truth, some principle, some verse, some true north that works for you, that helps get you up in the morning and do what you do?
Yes. So I'm a Christian woman. I love the Lord. I pray. We have this really tight relationship. Always talking to the Lord all the time. So I'm a prayer a lot, and I know that seeds are planted in my heart to do stuff, which is what made me quit my job and do this, full time. It's the hardest thing I've ever done professionally and financially. But I have this desire to serve, and I know that my survival wasn't for nothing. But I also remember my mom. So my mom was an amazing cancer warrior, amazing mother, amazing wife. But I remember her in her last week of life. She was brave until the last moment, and that just kind of gave me a wonderful example, is that we all have the capacity to be brave no matter what we're dealing with, even if it's end of life. But going back to kindness, my mom was so sick Yet she would pray for the nurses that would stop by, and she would chat with the nurses and ask them how their days are going. And she was kind to them, yet she was the one who was super sick. So we all have the capacity to be very kind too. You know, we can be on our worst day, our last day on earth, and we can be really sick, but we can still be kind, we can be brave, and just show up. So that's my wonderful example that my mother left for me.
All right, Brandon.
So I would say it's kind of a twofer, kindness, but no, it is. So it's I would say compassion and kindness. And so compassion which means a lot of things, pretty vague word, but I mean it in the way the Buddhists use it, which is compassion that we all suffer. You know what I mean? No matter how much someone looks like they have it better or worse than you, we all got it pretty tough out there. Human beings, you know, it's not that easy. It's stressful. You don't really know where people are coming from, what they went through that day, what's going on. You know, one time at the open mic, one of the guys that comes was kind of in a little bad mood. And then I was like, what's going on with Tim? And found out that one of his family members had passed away, you know. And it's like, at first you're like, man, he's kind of being a jerk to people. But then, you know, it's like you got to understand that you don't know where people are coming from. And so after you realize that through compassion, kindness is usually the medicine that I do. Also humor. I try and I think that humor is medicine, and it, you know, cheers people up, and it helps me get through a lot of tough times. And a lot of people I know that are comedians have been through some tough times because, you ever been having like a really bad day, and then it just gets like so much worse that it becomes funny, and you're like, wow, it was right. The humor was right there. Like you'll like hit your head or something. You're like, man, it's you know. And then the humor is always there for us, no matter what. It's sort of the light that I like to use because it reminds you that things are silly. And we get so wrapped up in our stories, but they are real, and you know. So I just try and be compassionate to everybody, and even if they got 3 Teslas, you know, where are they going to park? That's stressful, you know. So yeah, so compassion, kindness.
Awesome, thanks. All right, Reina.
I like following after you because you cracked me up. Not something that my husband does often. He values humor, but I can't usually laugh at his jokes. What is my true north? That is, that's an easy answer, but also hard to unpack. So the easy answer for me is my faith. But when you talk about faith, it looks so different for every person. And so for myself, what faith looks like is when I'm always at a crossroads, I feel like God puts me in these positions of I get to have a choice. And so my true north is always peace. So whenever I make a decision on anything in life, and I hope I share this with everyone, I always pray for peace. Just because I'm offered an incredible job or just because I'm offered an incredible opportunity, I never just say yes to something just to say yes. I always pray for peace. And so that is something that guides me through life. That is something that has got me this far in life, and it's also saved my life. So, peace.
I love that. Yeah. That's a great one. If people are here tonight and they didn't know you before tonight and they want to find out more about what's going on, how can they either get involved? Do you have some projects coming up for the holidays? Some specific ways you could utilize them, and or how do they find you online?
So we do have a presence on Facebook and Instagram, but I admit I haven't done a whole lot on there lately. But we do have a big event coming up next Sunday, the 20th, Sunday before Thanksgiving. It's a fashion show, and the models in the show are all cancer warriors, cancer survivors that went through a 6-week empowerment program to get ready for the show. And the clothes that they're modeling, I told them to shop in their closets and pick out 3 outfits. One is their model favorite that they feel most comfortable in. I don't care if it's a bathing suit or pajamas, just rock it. And then the second is contemporary, third is glamour. But we need an audience, so we want you all to come out and support. It's at AV Irvine. There are flyers here on the table. It's from 5 to 9. The show is from 7 to 9 in the evening. So that's a good way. 1 week from tonight. How many cancer warriors or survivors or cancer patients in the audience today? If you're a survivor, I have a free ticket for you for next week, so come see me. But yeah, we do have, the holidays are coming up. We'll have one more painting workshop on the 17th of next month, and then we're going to close out the year. But we do have some big plans for next year, so please follow us on the Instagram and Facebook, and we'll stay in touch that way.
Awesome. Brandon?
Yeah, so if you want to get involved, come down to the open mic that's every Friday from 6 to 10, except next Friday. So it's kind of awkward time to plug it. Every Friday, except next week. I also teach a weekly meditation class on Monday evenings at the park, Estancia Park down the street. Daylight savings has pushed it back a little bit early, so you can check out our website, kindnessrising.community, for information about that. You can follow us on Instagram, kindness_rising, or on Facebook, Kindness Rising, or on YouTube. We also have a podcast that Keith and I host, and we interview different people doing cool stuff. So if you want to check it out, we're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and our website. We're working on getting on Spotify, but they're kind of we're having some technical difficulties. So for you Spotify-only fans, YouTube, it's pretty fun. We have the fabulous Arliss Reynolds who's actually in our audience.
Yeah.
Arliss, have you officially won? Have you officially won yet?
Is it official?
Okay,
certified fresh, but Arliss Reynolds about to announce soon another round as council member.
Yeah, so give her a preliminary,
so
preemptive applause.
Yeah.
Great job.
Go to Kindness Rising and check out the podcast and listen to her heart for Costa Mesa. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
All right, Reina, what's coming up? Holidays, and how can they learn more about Love Costa Mesa?
Yeah, we have a website, lovecostamesa.org. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. Give us a follow. There's a lot of amazing opportunities coming up for holidays. And actually, the one that's coming up the soonest is going to be on November 19th. I'm going to be putting it up tomorrow. We are going to be blessing 6 to 8 isolated seniors with Christmas lights. And so we're partnering with Lions Club. They do this every year. And I said, hey, let's collaborate. I'm very big on that. I don't like to repeat what other people are doing. And so we will be collaborating with them to put up Christmas lights for neighbors that can't do it themselves. So that's just one opportunity. I'm going to be putting up opportunities every week leading up to Christmas. And I know Arliss and I, we've been talking about doing a caroling night. And she's also including kind of a caroling biking night for our seniors. And so if you're interested in that, please look on our website. You can also grab one of our flyers and join our intentional neighboring network. That's where you'll get the most updated opportunities.
Very, very cool. Let me mention how fun this is for me, because my background was church ministry. I was a youth pastor and then a church planter. And then about 20 years ago, left my work in the church and decided I wanted to just work with what I call humans from all walks of life, and especially those that were aging and dying, and became honestly disgruntled a bit with the church, and thought, well, I'm just going to try to out-kind the church. So that's why I started Kindness Rising. It's like I want to compete with the church and challenge the church to be kind and kinder. Because that's part of my own journey, is wanting to be more kind. And it took for me leaving the faith to grow more kind. And then I sit down with Reina, and I know of Trellis, and I know of Love Costa Mesa, and it was so fun because hearing her talk, I'm like, oh my God, you make me want to get involved, because you're just doing great stuff that isn't religious. Because I even said, okay, what if I don't pray anymore? Like you mentioned, prayer is one of your things. What if I don't pray? She's like, you can affirm. You can think of positive qualities. You can meditate. I was like, oh, so there's a place for me. And so I said, wow, hearing what you're doing, you guys really are trying to be that neighbor in the community that I've always wanted to be, that I didn't know how to be when I was in the church. And now that I'm just trying to be kind, I'm getting involved, and Kindness Rising is circling back to get involved with Love Costa Mesa, because we want to play well with others. And because they're already doing something in the community, we're just going to join them. And so I've committed, because once a month you guys do a project, is that right? And it's always is it always the first?
First Saturday.
So the first Saturday of the month, my commitment is, if you go to a Love Costa Mesa event, you'll probably see me, because I'm putting my name out there to say, I'm going to start showing up. I want to be a good team player. And then also, the Love Costa Mesa is always, what time of year? Is it always the
Love Costa Mesa Day?
Yep.
It's always the weekend after Mother's Day. Okay. So next year is May 20th, Love Costa Mesa Day.
Okay. So my hope is that something has caught your attention tonight. Maybe you knew what was going to catch your attention the minute we started talking, and maybe you've been pleasantly surprised, something that you didn't expect to think or hear or feel. And so I just want to say yay for all of us for being open and curious to what comes up for us. And before we close out, I want to give you an opportunity to either tell us one insight or one idea or one something that's been encouraging for you to have heard tonight. Or if you don't want to do that and you want to ask somebody a question, we can do a Q&A as well. So I'm putting you on the spot, audience. Anybody got any feedback for one of our panel members? Anything that struck a chord with you? Anything that inspired you or encouraged you? Let's make this a two-way conversation.
Give this gal's bravery an applause, folks. That's right.
So I came to support Yoli, but I also know Brennan from listening to you on Open Mic Night. And I've heard about Trellis, but I didn't know about Love Costa Mesa. But what I want to say is Moongoat is a place where people come together as a community. And I was telling Yoli, we got to get her over here so that she can spread the word. And I believe this guy right here, I've known him without really knowing him for many, many decades because you were very involved with Rock Harbor on 19th Street a long time ago. So what I'm trying to say is it's all about community. And to be able to sit here and have these people talk about community and open and invite you, that's amazing.
Oh, thanks, Teresa. Yep. Love it. Someone else. You don't even have to use a microphone. If you're way back there, you can just yell it out. Anybody? All right.
So I just love hearing all the different stories and all the different things that you can do. And it's not like you have to go out and make them up yourself. They're already organized. People are already putting them together, and all you have to do is show up.
Yeah.
That gets the ball rolling.
Right. Right. Yeah. It can be overwhelming, right? To know where to get started. And here are some folks that are doing things in all different shapes and sizes. And it's really the invitation, the welcome mat's been rolled out. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
I'll ask a question. Mr. Sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Halfway, so.
I know, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it was actually I think it's Brandon. Yeah. You mentioned at the very beginning, you were talking about what kind of got you involved as far as like improv, I believe. Yeah. And it's just kind of going up there and doing it over and over again, just going through the beginning phases of whether if you were messing up or you weren't adequate enough to perform, you were just willing to push through that. And I think it kind of felt the foundation of everyone's stories here. As far as Yoli and then Reina. But just, the neighboring concept is fantastic because I think it's true. A lot of us, at least for myself included, that we didn't know our neighbors growing up in our life, and we never took that courage or that step forward to know our neighbors, which is our left, our front of us, or to the left of us. So the ability to just take those steps forward and introduce yourself or whatever it may be, and then your story with your background, your history, is just powerful. So kind of going back to the beginning, talking about just going through those uncomfortable things and uncomfortable situations allows you to continue and improve on yourself, on your confidence, whatever it may be, and to help, I think one thing that you guys all mentioned was your faith, which is fantastic, and how you had that as a rooting foundation. I thought it's great to share, so I just wanted to, yeah.
And did you know this was going to be here tonight?
No. I did not know.
That's amazing. Here you are, a participant. Way to go, man.
What were you going to be working on tonight? What did we interrupt?
Oh, I was going to read my Bible.
Oh, okay. Jesus will forgive you, my friend. Don't worry. Which part? Matthew? That's a good one. Beginning is a little boring. The whole who's dad, this dad's like, I don't know.
Can I maybe something about that? So going back to your comment about sharing and your comment about just getting used to doing it over and over to feel comfortable. When I was 1 year post chemotherapy, my breast surgeon asked me to share my story of how well I was doing, because I actually fared pretty well after treatment or during treatment, to another newly diagnosed cancer patient to help her with her fear of starting treatment and having surgery. And so I started mentoring and just simply telling my story. And then when my sister passed away, telling her story, telling my mom's story, all very delicate topics for me. And now when I tell the story, the flavor of my family story is different. And the more I tell it, the more it heals me, but also I see how it impacts another person. So that is my call to action to all of you, is to share your story, whatever it may be, with your neighbor, with the person sitting next to you, or maybe somebody having coffee sitting next to you. Tell your story. It's powerful. It can mean the difference, make a huge difference in somebody else's life.
Right on. Any other questions? Any questions for these folks? Yes. How to get involved with Kindness Rising? Yeah, we are. We're at Moongoat a lot. So if you catch us on Moongoat, or you go to kindnessrising.community and fill out some information, get on our email list. We host a number of activities. And our hope is maybe even once a month doing something like this, whether it's Moongoat or somewhere else, where it almost becomes a community that we start to gather, which would be really cool. Those in the church and those outside the church. But kind of the theme of encouraging one another in this way towards kindness. So catch me, I'm Keith or Brandon, and we would love to talk to you about getting involved. Also, if there's something you're already doing and you want to partner with us and let us help promote you, kind of slingshot you into the community somehow, let us know. We'll have you on our podcast. We'll bring you up here some week. We'll tell your story. Whatever we can do to help you get further out is exciting for us. We almost feel like we are curators of art. And we don't want to be the art. We want to curate you as the art for the community. We're going to wrap it up here, but I want to just say some thank yous, if that's okay, so you know how this whole thing came about. So we got some donations through the hospice agency that I work for called Lucent Hospice of Orange County, and they donated some dollars. I want to thank them. Also, I have some friends that have a construction and design company called Kind Guys Development, and they also donated some dollars to make this event happen. My friend Rohan is outside doing the t-shirt screen printing, and his company's called Broken Twill Trading, and they do all kinds of t-shirts, screen printing. They do all the frat and sorority hats and shirts at USC, UCLA, and other places. So I want to thank them. Of course, the one and only Moongoat Coffee. We want to thank them a ton.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David, and others.
Right. Again, Lindsay and the Cookie Branch for her cookies. Yay.
Gone but not forgotten.
That's right. And then, of course, don't forget Love Costa Mesa, Moongoat Open Mic, Cancer Kinship,
Trellis.
Kindness Rising. Who have I left out? Anyone else? What's the name of our oat milk? What is it called? Minor Figures. They're the ones that provided all the amazing oat milk-free drinks as partners with Moongoat because David asked them to. So yay, Minor Figures. Yay, Moongoat. And we're not done here. We're going to stick around to mingle with you. And the one and only D.C.R. Pollock, right, is going to do music. And I've only heard about him. I've not yet heard him, but I've heard you're great. Is that you right there? We're so glad you're here. And you're going to get started in a little bit. We're going to still allow free drinks to happen and for you to mix and mingle some more, okay? Hey, before you leave, help yourself to a Kindness Rising t-shirt outside, please, okay? And a tote bag. Oh, yeah, and some pictures. We're going to get some pictures here. Thank you all. See you at Open Mic, not this Friday, but a week from Friday.
See you guys soon.
Yeah.
As always, the Kindness Rising podcast is brought to you by Kindness Rising. Kindness Rising is a community organization committed to inspiring, equipping, and resourcing people to lead lives that flourish, grounded in kindness, and aimed at making the world a better place. For more information, please visit our website at kindnessrising.community. There you can find out about our upcoming events, how to get involved. You can sign up for our newsletter, find out more information about this podcast, or even donate. Kindness Rising is supported solely by the generous contribution of our lovely donors. So if you would like to help support us, please go to kindnessrising.community/donate.